The other side. All right. Hey, buddy, we're broadcasting. Good evening, lunatics. It's been a while. Life has been very busy for everybody involved. So, including Larry, he's up to his eyeballs in all kinds of year end stuff. So, he's not going to be with us tonight. But right there he is on the screen, uh, Phil. So, it's Friday night with Phil. And the theme is it's fine. Everything is fine. Now, for the inside joke for everybody, this uh, there's pretty much a comedy show that goes on our in our private chat groups, and that's kind of the thing that Phil started to say, look, it's fine, everything's fine. Now Phil gets fired about on average about 4 times a week, um, but he keeps coming back strong.
Yeah.
Uh,
I have a
dude,
standing application.
yeah, I was looking at the old spreadsheet. We are building loads for the last settlement of 2024 right now, and it just seems crazy that we're about to start the last week of the fiscal year. Because it's gone by quick. But boy, what a year! Holy crap! It's been at times it's been exhilarating. At times it's been a complete shit show. Um, but here we are at the end. We're making it. We're going to see the other side, and it's certainly not been without its challenges. So we'll just kind of open it up to whatever anybody wants to talk about, and go from there.
Well, I'll start with that. Evan Eisman, you're fired, buddy. There you go.
Yeah,
Richie too. Richie Matthews,
yeah,
you're fired too.
yeah. There's a
So,
bunch of the minions over there in the YouTube comment section, raising Cain. Um, I have seen a disturbing. Maybe it seems maybe just because I'm more exposed to it, but I have seen a disturbing increase in the last 2 or 3 years. This disturbing increase in people that are driving trucks that have absolutely no business near the steering wheel of one. We had one on the property today. There was a text that came to me on the way to the shop that said, "Hey, there's a guy that needs a tire, and I think he's over on the other side of the fence." Now, if anybody took somewhere between 12 and 18 seconds to look at a satellite image from Google Maps, they could see how easy it is to turn off of 7th Avenue in Charleston, West Virginia, and get into our shop without tearing anything down. Right? There's no fences going to be destroyed. There's no railroad tracks going to be driven on. There's no axles going to be pointing the wrong direction. So as soon as I heard that, I knew we were in for some entertainment. And so I get there. The guy comes in. He says, "Yeah, I need a tire." Well, it ain't the first time that I have walked out to the parking lot to see someone say, "I need a tire," and one axle of the trailer is pointing. The trailer's going north and the axle's pointing east. Um, and they're like shocked when I say, "Brother, I can't, I can't fix that." Like, what you need to fix? I'm like, "Well, we're going to have to get a wrecker. We're going to have to pick up the whole trailer. We're going to have to take the entire slider unit out because it's destroyed. Then we'll have to put a new slider under there, set it back down." Oh, how much that cost? More than this old Swift trailer is worth.
yeah,
I said, "Are you loaded?" "Yeah." "How much?" 40,000. "Okay. Where are you going?" "California." He's
it
like,
ain't
You
happening.
can't, you can't replace tire." "Oh, well, yeah, 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 yeah. Look, let's put 4 tires on that front axle. And by the time you get to Louisville, there will be cords hanging out of them because they're trying to go down the road sideways." And it's just the obliviousness to that. Number one, He told I said, "Look, what'd you hit?" "Oh, hit nothing, hit nothing." He said that he did this damage to his slider, sliding the tandems. Well, it was in very tight spot and, um, uh, oh, I just got a text message. The guy you're talking about just left. He tried to get me to straighten it out again. I told him there was nothing I could do. He just left with the truck and the trailer.
Oh my.
Now, mind you,
Mm.
there's yellow streaks all down um the what we call it thing, that air guard on the side of the trailer.
Yeah.
Like
It's like a fairing or something.
this guy has run over something big, and with
Probably those
and
big cement pieces out in front of the fuel islands, keep you from
mhm.
destroying their fuel
Well, you know,
pumps.
he was at the Pilot Nitro, and that's the same color as those great big concrete things they put at the end of the scale.
Yep.
But, I mean, there was one last week setting off the side of the interstate, and the driver finally stopped because the trailer's going down the road sideways. And it's just shocking to have been around trucks for so long. D driver, I've made mistakes, I've run over stuff, I've busted a wheel before, right? I mean, you're not ever gonna not do but the level of just don't have any concept or clue the amount of damage they've done or come in and the wheel's gone. Like the whole hub and the bearings and the tires and the brakes are just gone. And they're like, I don't know what happened to it. Um, can you put another one on? Well, yeah, yeah, I can. And then you tell them what that's going to cost to replace one half of an axle. Like, oh, that's too much, too much, too much. Uh, so it's
Yeah.
like I I empathize. I operate trucks. I know it's like I got the call last night, needed a radiator. I'm like, oh God, what's that gonna cost? Ended up not being all that bad. So I empathize with especially these single truck owner operators, whether they're immigrants or not. But y'all, listen, 227 episodes of trying to tell y'all that if you want to be an owner operator, there's another level that you have to go to beyond truck driver.
Yep.
And
Oh,
then, oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you the radiator from last night. How did they wind up putting the
Okay.
overflow back on there?
So
How did it go?
let me tell this one. And this is a perfect example for you owner operators to hear. Okay. Because with Phil and myself and Larry, we've been through these situations so many times. It's just second nature to us to know what to ask and what to question. So driver calls yesterday, hey, I got a coolant leak. Okay. Can't figure out where it's coming from. Okay. It's not surprising. Brand new guy has been here, what, 2, 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Um, so he stops and gets some coolant and he has to stop a few times between like, I think he was at the 291 on 81 where that pilot is, Tom's Brook,
Yeah.
maybe that whatever. I think he was at the 291. So from the 291 to Greencastle, PA, he had to put like 5 gallons of coolant in it to get it to TA. Because I'm thinking, pick your poison. At this point, I'll go with TA. So he
Right.
gets there, and I said, "All right, number one, I need a pressure test. Right? You always confirm the repair diagnostically." He calls me back, "Hey, 100% it's the radiator. As soon as they put the pressure on, it starts pouring out of the top." Well, it's a Cascadia, right? You're going to get about 2 years out of a year and a half to 2 years out of a Cascadia radiator. OEM or aftermarket, don't matter. They're junk. I said, okay. So first question, can they get one? When can they get one and how much? They said, yep, we can get one from the dealer. We'll go get it now and we'll put it in. I'm like, great, send me the bill. Surprisingly, with the Landstar discount, the standard service labor, which is good because it doesn't matter if it takes them 75 hours, I'm paying $569 or whatever for labor. The radiator was $2,200. That's standard. I'm like, okay, so we've got the price, we've got everything we need. And so I start getting the payment arranged because I want to go to bed. I don't want the middle of the night call. It's time to pay the bill. So I call and I say, all right, let's get this bill finalized. And she's like, yep, everything's on there. And I'm like, well, let's put a few extra gallons of coolant on it. So just in case. So we put 4 gallons of coolant on it. Bill comes out $3,000. I get some comm checks together. I'm like, here you go. Pay the bill. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I'm happy. Phone rings. Driver says, hey, man, they said this thing's got the wrong coolant reservoir on it. Like it's an 18 Freightliner. Well, so I went back to my documentation. May of 23, we put a radiator in it. I look, I paid for an OEM radiator. I paid for labor, towing, nothing about a reservoir. I've not put a reservoir on that truck, so I can only assume that the same radiator has been on that truck since we brought it into the fleet 2 years ago. Now, fortunately for me, I have access to Freightliner Accelerator. So I open it up on my phone and I said, well, here's the OEM part number. So go find the OEM part number on the radiator. Let's make sure that's correct. He looks at the box. He looks at the radiator. Yep, that's right. Okay, get me the part number off of that reservoir. So he finds the part number on the reservoir, and it matches the Alliance, which starts with an ABP, Alpha Bravo Paul. All the Alliance number starts with ABP, and it's identical. I'm like, dude, that is the Alliance Freightliner aftermarket reservoir that's been on that truck the whole time we've had it. He said, well, they're saying it won't fit. The holes don't line up. Okay. Holes don't line up. All right. So, and I said, well, look, here's the problem. I know for a fact that the part number stamped on that reservoir and the part in Freightliner are identical. Okay. Check. I know that it bolted to the radiator that was in it before, which was also an OEM radiator. Check. So I have to ask the question, is the new radiator that came out of the box, is it correct? Because has Freightliner ever put the wrong part in the right box? Yes, they have. So we're going through all this. Everything is matching up. And I said, so here's my problem, guys. You want to delay my truck getting done, who has to be on Long Island by 2:00 tomorrow to get unloaded, or he's going to set all weekend. You're going to go over to the dealer and they're going to hand you the exact same thing that you have in your possession right now. So no. So somebody's going to have to do better of explaining to me why this won't work. So I'm going to need some pictures. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to share with you the picture that I received.
This is good.
And I know that looks like a dirty butthole. It's off by a 32nd of an inch. Okay. I said, brother, if you're so concerned about that plastic piece of that radiator, I encourage you to find a drill bit and a big washer. Waller the hole out. But if we put that on there, it's going to hurt the radiator. Brother, it's plastic. So run a drill bit through it, bolt it on, and let the sumbitch go. And of course, Chris Dolan, who always has the greatest lines, I walk in this morning, he said, why didn't you tell them that y'all don't ever put all the bolts in anything anyway, so why are you worried about it?
Yeah.
Okay. But an unsuspecting, inexperienced person who hasn't been down 1,000 roads with TA and Petro, and the Loves that showed up for a jump start last week with no voltmeter, let's add that one to the pile. If you've not been down these roads and you don't know how to look at these people and say, nope, stop. No, 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 we're not doing that. Well, if I would have allowed them to make those decisions, okay, well, they would have waited till this morning. They would have gotten, the deal by 10 o'clock, and then they would have put everything together. Well, there's no chance my driver's getting unloaded in Long Island by 1400 today. It's not happening, right? I'm not going to set a whole weekend and lose, what are we talking, $2,500 to $3,500 worth of revenue over something that's not a problem. We have been down these roads so many times. Here it feels a heavy haul operator who has many times just had to take it upon himself to say, you know what, stop, I'll do the repair. Just
Yep.
just just get out of my way. I've got tools in my truck. I have the means, I have the motivation. Just get out of my way and let me take care of it.
I will do everything I possibly can to keep from paying somebody to work on my stuff. And I am nowhere near a mechanic. I can assure you of that. But I mean, most of this stuff's just common sense to begin with. Once you learn the basic fundamentals of it, I mean, there's not, a whole lot left of it. So,
No, it's, when you get into the computer diagnostics and the emissions and stuff, it's, you know, that that takes another level.
yep.
Um,
And just so happens I've got the app for that. So,
well, that's true. Um, I'm getting a phone call from
yeah,
Greg.
yep. You're
Is he
probably
back?
gonna get one from Evan here in a minute too. So,
Are they both in trouble?
I think they're done with Evan's trailer. So I don't know how he's
All
expecting
right.
that to go. So,
Well, I want you to keep the audience occupied for a minute while I take this.
oh
Oh,
my. All
I
right.
know why he's calling. Hey, you
Yeah.
trying to get some fuel? Well, all
Yep.
right. I'm doing the podcast. Give me a minute and I'll take care of you. That's all right. I'll get it here. Just give me a second. All right, bye. Okay, never mind. Hey, carry on. I just need to load some fuel on his fuel card because truck drivers they like to put fuel in cards, but he had a big load cancel, and so that makes things difficult. Oh, now I gotta remember what his rate bill. Oh, I bet it's that. No, it ain't that one. It's that one.
It's Iowa to Minnesota, I think.
Yeah, that is. And go. There we go. All right. Okay. All right. Now let me just text him real quick and tell him he's go. Life of a fleet manager, right? Never stops.
Right.
All day, every day.
And all
so,
night.
so I have something I'm really excited to do after next Wednesday. I mentioned that we are booking loads right now that are effectively on the final settlement of 2024. And I have completely nerded out, and I got some spreadsheets, right? And so after next Wednesday's settlement, I've got to go back to the beginning of the year, and I just want to go through, take me a couple days. I just want to go through and I want to confirm every number. But I'm going to be able to show you at a depth and a level that I don't think has ever been shown before of trucks that have been leased to Landstar, running van, running platform, with different drivers and the whole deal for 52 weeks. And the stuff that I'm seeing I've got the first three, um, I got the first 3 quarters done. I got to add this last week and then I'll be able to do quarter 4. Um, But one thing I'm happy about is it's going to validate everything that we have been saying about how we operate a truck. We expect that you to be able to make 150 to $200,000 net profit working full time at Landstar with your own truck. And I'm gonna be able to prove it in a big, 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 big way. So I'm very excited to see how that's going to play out because when Larry got ill and I had to take over all the payroll stuff, it just gave me a level of access to the numbers that I've never had before. And of course, it didn't take long for me to start nerding around with it. Um, but I'm very excited to be able to publish a lot of this. Because it's just cool data. I mean, it's going to show you um, what that net really looks like. Um, when you're transferring a lot of risk to the carrier that you don't have to bear on your own. And especially given what a just absolute dog shit market that we have been in, um, that we're still
Have
we're
you
still
have you
hitting the numbers.
noticed how many loads we've gained on the load board lately?
Hmm.
Well, I think we're up to like 83,000 today.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for 2025 for a lot of reasons. There's some exciting stuff's going to happen for Blue Ribbon, and um, I think the market's going to get better. It can't help but get better. So I think it's going to be. I think 25 is going to be pretty awesome. Um, so you know, uh, I saw something else today, and this goes to well, it wasn't just today, but I've seen it over the last couple of weeks. This beneficial ownership stuff. This this absolute piece of garbage, piece of legislation. What's it called? Corporate Transparency Act. That was passed, which is probably one of the most egregious pieces of garbage to come out of the U.S. Congress in a long time. Got shut down by a federal judge. Um, the the news of that broke, and as soon as I saw it, the first thing I did was I went to Google News and I searched for it. And I confirmed it because I don't know if y'all have noticed this or not, but people on social media will make stuff up that's not true and post it. And so I saw confirmations from various news outlets and organizations that a federal judge in Texas had indeed put a stay or injunction or whatever the legal term is on this corporate transparency nonsense, and so you don't have to file the BOI by the end of the year. What disturbed me is that I've seen questions be asked, especially on Facebook and Facebook groups, asking people, number one, what it is, number two, how to do it. There's such a lack of curiosity um, and willingness to seek out information on your own. Um, Lots of TikTok accounts have picked up on this and we're talking about before the injunction, and we're talking about, oh, you got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, and it's $591 a day fine if you don't do it, and which obviously the first time I heard that when they first started talking about this, I said this thing will never see the light of day, never see the light of day. There's no way that any judge is going to let something like that through. Um, because there's a real important um, principle here that a bunch of y'all need to understand, and that is what I do where I do it, whom I do it with, and how much value is exchanged between me and that other person is none of your damn business. And it ain't none of the government's business either. What your neighbor is doing, if it does not involve you, is none of your business. Oh, but we got to know. No, you don't. You ain't got to know. It's none of your business. I mean, I've never been more convinced that no group of human beings in the history of human beings despise, hate, and abhor human liberty more than American citizens. Um, just mind your own business. It ain't hurting you. What somebody else is doing with their money, and who they're giving it to, and what they're giving it to them for. Just mind your own business and just go. Why don't you worry about yourself? But they come up with this nonsense and people cheer it on, because they think somehow. I mean, honestly, do you really think? Do y'all honestly think that people who are engaged in illicit activity are going to file a BOI report?
Yeah.
I mean, come on now, come on.
So
It's not.
you make a law that, you have to prove to the biggest criminal organization that ever existed that you're not a criminal, while the ones that are actually criminals are going to ignore the law just like they do every other law. So yeah, that works. That works great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the
It's
thing what they call it financial crimes, something FinCEN funny. I mean, you're literally talking about the biggest group of criminals ever known to man are going to fix Oh, please, gosh, that's precious, absolutely precious.
it's fine.
Um,
Everything's fine.
it's fine, everything's fine. Um, I'll tell you what has been fun to watch though over the last what has it been 7 or 10 days is how many people who hate. I'm gonna be real careful here. People who hate personal defense objects, that for force multipliers that kind of, that will go in your pocket.
Yeah.
Boy, they sure don't care about it when some dude walking down the street in New York City gets capped. All of that desire to do away with said force multiplication devices went right out the window because they're like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, stop, hold on. I thought y'all didn't like those objects and the homemade objects that get screwed on the end that are highly illegal, and walking up in the middle of the street and doing
Here,
something to somebody in the back.
okay. So here's the thing with this. This guy has been all over the United States. He's not what he's like 20, 21, something like that. So he's been all over the United States, including Hawaii, right? So he
Uh-huh.
drives up from Florida, goes up there and does this thing,
Mhm.
and just slips off into oblivion.
Mhm.
Okay, so explain this to me. If you're able to sneak in there and do this and just disappear, but yet you go over to Pennsylvania to McDonald's, order your food, and sit down in a restaurant, like,
With your manifesto, don't forget. You
yes,
always gotta carry
yes,
your manifesto
and
with you. That's very important.
the gun, and he had the gun on him too, right?
Yeah, well,
I think
I don't know about
I
that
think
part,
he did, but
but he
like,
had his laptop and had his because listen, these guys they're Travis said he rode bus.
yeah,
Um, but I mean, well, here's the crazy thing. Okay, but truck drivers know this better than anybody. Y'all, if I wanted to walk through that door right there and disappear, you know how easy that would be in this country? Just
yep,
dude, I could get in a vehicle built say before 19 well hell, but really anything built before about 2005. And I could drive 15 minutes out the road that goes by my house and be so deep in the woods, just 15 minutes away from here.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just the most ridiculous. And I'm sorry that I can't take anything seriously these days, but it's 2024. I don't believe anything that I see anymore, because why would you? Lord have mercy. Um. So anyway, boy, we got off on a tangent there. Um.
It's fine.
Everything's fine,
Uh,
but to bring, I mean, I'm gonna bring this back to trucking somehow. What you can do. Okay, here, let me try this. So I was having a conversation with a guy the other day. And this guy's in the industry. Okay. He has warehousing, he has trucks, not big trucks, he has brokerage, right? So he's well versed in the industry. And he's interested in coming over to the truckload side of things. And he said, look, he said, he's like, I get the lunatic thing. I totally do. Everything about the lunatic deal makes sense to me. He said, but I mean, I can buy a lot of truck for $40,000 on the market right now. I said, yep, that's true. That's absolutely true. I mean, we got 17, 18, 19, even 20 Cascadias and Volvos selling for next to nothing. He was like, so to put a $40,000 price tag on a lunatic truck, which we're now talking 99 to 07. I mean, we're coming dangerously close to talking about a 30-year-old truck. He was like, and I can go buy this Cascadia or this T680 or this Volvo. And I said, well, brother, here's the thing. I can buy a turbo right now today for a Series 60 Detroit for $1,300. We priced a turbo for an ISL. What is that? An 8.9 liter, I think. Cummins, 8 or 9 liter Cummins, $4,500. Okay. A VG turbo for a Packard, $8,000 for a turbo for a Packard. And I mean, I see it. I mean, one just came in yesterday, needed a crankcase ventilation module, a knock sensor, and a VGT that goes on the turbo. $9,000 bill. And it ain't got a whole lot of labor on it. Like, I don't know, maybe 6 hours of labor.
you have to program those. You have to program the Packard turbos.
I try to stay out of the building when the Packards are in. I don't think so. No, you do. You have to calibrate it.
Yeah,
Not
calibrate.
really
That's the
program.
word I was looking for.
Yeah, you have to calibrate it. So when I look at what I pay for parts for a 2002 Century, my gosh, I can buy a transmission for less than what I can buy 2 transmissions for a Century for what I can pay for 1 turbo on a Packard. So, and they still produced the Century class, the C120 body up through as gliders up through like 20 or 21. So the parts availability is not an issue. And of course, all the axles don't have any. I mean, that's all Dana or not Dana, but that's all
Meritor,
Spicer and Eaton and Meritor. Well, we found out a couple months ago that for that, what is that one, an '01 that we're working on? I can replace the whole front, the whole steer axle from brake drum to brake drum. So that means we're getting drums, we're getting slack adjusters, we're getting brake shoes, we're getting hubs, bearings, seals, the axle kingpins shipped to my location for $4,500. Bust 4 U-bolts off of it, slide one out, slide the other one in, put 4 U-bolts on it, and you're done. I mean, and that's converting it from a unitized hub to an oil bath hub. But where's the problem? Where's the real problem here? It's not in the parts availability. It's not in the parts price. It's people are too broke, and the only way they know how to survive is on payments. So whoever walks up to them with a piece of paper that they can't read because their American government school education did not prepare them to be able to read a goddamn contract. Well, hey, just where do I put my name on it so I only have to pay you $1,000 a week and then I don't have to worry about any of this stuff? No, but see, you do. You do have to worry
Yeah.
about it. Brandon Hart, I've spent $80,000 this year maintaining 2 2018 Cascadias. Y'all, they're insane. They're insane. I mean, so when you and I can still we're getting ready to release one. It's in the shop right now. I think Kyle's probably going to get started tomorrow. But we're going to be right at 40 grand to turn a $3,000 2001 Columbia into a freight hauling truck. And then everything's new. Well, not new, but it's got a new transmission. It's got a new clutch. We've done all the brakes, all the drums, all the bushings, all the airbags. Now the wiring is, this thing's been truck drivered to death. It is zip tied and butt connectored and twisted together. I mean, the wiring's going to be a challenge, but it's so easily overcome. When these new trucks have electrical issues and wiring problems, God help you. God help you that you find somebody that's actually capable of getting in and doing actual diagnostics, because really, honestly, a lot of that stuff is not necessary on trucks before 2007. I mean, the Cats, the Cummins, the Detroits, you had 5 or 6 sensors. You had a couple of timing sensors, you had a boost sensor, you might have a differential pressure sensor of some sort, some temperature sensors. That's it. If you put fuel in them, they'll run on 3 cylinders and still get your load delivered. Oh, but not the Cascadia and the Volvo and the T680. When they have a problem, they just shut off.
You forgot the Pro Store.
Yeah, yeah. The untenable amount of risk that exists for an owner operator to operate a truck built after 2007 is crazy. It's crazy. We got Lee driving. Lee's in the comment section over on the YouTube. He's driving a 2007. Now, if you go to the TikTok profile, there's a button there. It says $15,000 truck. Lee is driving that truck right now. And the only thing not new in that truck is the transmission. I changed an axle. Well, we haven't changed the third members. They're the same. But I had to replace an axle housing because it was bent. We in-framed it. I went through it front to back, top to bottom, all through the suspension, brakes, all that stuff. Certainly we're going to work a few bugs out of it because, hell, we've only put, I don't know, maybe 10,000 miles on it since we got it. But guys, I promise you, the amount of money that I would have to spend over, say, a 3-year period, right? And what's our statistic? 95% of first-time owner operators fail in the first 2 years. Well, if you buy a truck, a used truck, that already has unbelievable levels of risk piled on top of it just because of how it was designed, you're gonna take that 95% to 99%. Whereas a 99 to '07, especially a Freightliner, are they pretty? No. Do they ride good? No. Are they warm in the summer? No. Are they warm in the winter? No. Are they cold in the summer? No. But they get the freight delivered, and that's what we're here to do, is deliver freight. Now, look, if you live in California, sorry, move. I it's just it's just
And
insane.
here's one, Lee Byer. Western Star 49X likes to give you 30 seconds countdown and then shut off in traffic due to the low coolant when the coolant isn't low. So, apparently you got a bad coolant sensor or whatever. But I mean, why would they program a truck to do that is beyond me. Like, I understand, you program it to shut down if the coolant's low, but 30 seconds is what are you going to do in 30 seconds? That's that's a problem.
Um,
So,
this reminds me of another. There was a road call, um, that came into the shop. Well, let me think. Did it start as a road call? No, it didn't start as a road call. It started as a guy coming in because his alternator was out, and he was bringing the truck to the shop. Like, okay. So about it was dark, so I'm gonna say 5:30. Um, we get the call that truck's not gonna make it to the shop. It's sitting in the middle of the road. Can we go over there? We're like, "Yeah." So, I'm going to the house, right? I saw the service truck pull out and head that direction, and I stopped at the grocery store that was, like, 2 blocks from where this breakdown had happened. I go in the grocery store, and I come out, and I see blue lights. It looks like a murder scene, you know? And, so I, "Hey, hey, buddy, hey, brother, when you move that thing around like that, it
sorry
it
about that.
it's it sounds like a war." So, anyway, I pull out of the grocery store, and I look, and there's cops everywhere. And now my morbid curiosity has got me. I gotta go down there and see what's going on. Now, remember, we're told the truck is sitting in the road, and they sent a dot on, like, a Google map, and I thought, "Man, that dot's not in the road. That dot is, like, over out of the road." But the dot listen, it's Google. I've seen the dot be in the wrong place. Hey, that dot wasn't in the wrong place. I get up there. The reason there's blue lights everywhere is because the trailer is strung across both lanes of this 2-lane road, and this truck is in somebody's front yard. And I'm thinking, "What? Why? You had an alternator going out. Why are you in somebody's front yard?" So I pull over behind the service truck, and I see our young mechanic standing beside a truck driver who has a phone in his hand, and he's speaking Russian into the phone and holding holding it up for the service technician to read. And I'm so glad I came. And so Mason looks at me and he goes, "He said the cops won't let him drive anymore." And I look at the driver and he goes, "Yeah, police won't let me drive." I'm like, "Well, I guess I'm gonna have to go talk to the law." So I walk up to this Dunbar police officer. I said, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" And he goes, "He ain't driving. All right, he's done." I said, "Okay." We didn't get to why is he in the front yard. He said, "Well, I called y'all because y'all got people with CDLs." And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you have a CDL?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he said, "Well, listen, the only way that truck is leaving this scene is if you're driving it." I'm like, "Okay." So I go over and we've got a jump box on the batteries and we've got jumper cables running from the reefer down. And I'll turn to look and here comes the tow truck that's been called. So, and I'm pretty well convinced this truck is not going to drive out of this yard because it's buried to the axle. So I put it in reverse, and by some miracle, it starts moving. So I get it backed out in the road, and I get one lane open for traffic. And I found out how far a 2019 Freightliner will drive with a jump box attached to the batteries. It's about 1.8 miles to from that location to our shop. Um, because that's where it quit when I pulled in. And talking about that 30-second countdown, at one point it lit up and it said like comfort loads disabled. And I'm watching the voltage drop like a rock. Like we were at 12.4 when I left, and I made the last turn into the shop and we hit 12.0, and I came up around the fence, it hit 11.8, and she said, "All right, we're done here." Um, so that turned in, for them, an extra about $500 in road call fees, to come out there. I
So we
just
never figured out why he was in the yard.
no, no. Well, I mean, my Russian's not very good, so I just figured, we kind of had a quiet ride back,
Yeah.
me driving this guy's truck.
Y'all didn't talk
Um,
about the motherland.
we didn't. We didn't. We just said, we exchanged names.
Right.
Um, you know, and I mean, look, I've met a bunch of these guys. They're nice guys. They can't speak English. I need me some of them fancy earbuds like they've been selling on the TikTok shop, that
Yep.
translates supposed to translate in real time. Those would be real handy, working in a shop. Um, but y'all, they're trained in the same place that all these others are. And for those of y'all that like to bag on immigrants, every time you see a truck turned upside down on fire, um, if you look at the statistics, the numbers are not in y'all's favor. Okay, they're just not. Because it was one that was born here that literally went down the railroad tracks. He was on the railroad tracks behind our shop. He was born here, 100%. And so when he finally got turned around and off of the railroad tracks and and into the place where he was supposed to be, he said, "Man, yeah, I'm leaving this company. I'm done with them." I'm thinking they are obviously the problem. The company, there's no doubt that the company's the problem. Um, because it's funny, we heard about him from Thermo King because they've got a camera that points out that where the fence has been completely torn down by at least 6 different truck drivers that can't, like, read a map and end up on this back street because my GPS told me to. And, so when he finally got himself off the railroad tracks, the phone rings and turns out it's him. And, and I said, "Hey, did you just have an adventure on the railroad tracks?" Silence.
Did you have
Um,
an adventure on a road trip?
he, he he said, "Yeah, yeah, it was me." I said, "You've been quite the topic of conversation here in the shop." I lied. I said, "Man, we got good video of it. It'll be on YouTube here in a little bit." Um, you know,
Probably riding down through there listening like some of those old train songs like Orange Blossom Special or City
yeah.
of New Orleans or some crap like that. Jamming out. It's fine. It's just a railroad track. Nobody needs roads.
A comment says they stressing him out too much. He couldn't think. It was their fault. Um, man, wow. You know, it's horrifying and terrifying. I mean, and it's I spent a lot of time on for the longest time after I quit driving, I was here in this room, most days running the fleet and doing everything from home office. And now I've been going up, to Charleston every day, driving back and forth. And boy, I see how some of y'all drive. Um, and y'all are scary. Y'all are straight up terrifying. Um, and let me tell you where you don't belong. The left lane. Okay? That's called the hammer lane. We have the slow lane, we have the middle lane, and then we have the hammer lane. Okay? Bunch of y'all don't belong in the hammer lane. So let's get the hell out the hammer lane. Okay? You don't belong there. So move on over to the right and please stay out of the hammer lane. And release. You know, this business trucking is hard enough, you know. Now I want to say real clearly that if you come into trucking as a driver, as an owner operator, whatever it is, and you fail, it's your fault. It's not the industry. Um, that's the case in every industry. If you have a problem, it's your fault. I hate to be this, the one to bring this to you. But your problems are your own making. Now, sometimes those can be from ignorance. You don't know any better, which means you need to learn. You need to be curious. You need to ask the right questions. You need to seek out people who've done it before. You need to find a mentor. But 27 years in this business, and I've been listening to how everybody was going to fix the trucking industry to suit them. Well, honey, boy, do I have disappointing news for you. This industry is not going to change for you because it's not for you.
That's
It's not
right.
for you. It's for the customers. Now it's for you in the sense that, you at some point are the consumer that consumes the thing that has been hauled on the truck. Um, but, you know, it must be something they hand out in like the second or third grade these days, that axis of the universe, and they jam it down on the top of your head, and make you believe that everything's about you and for you and you precious thing. You know,
Hey,
mhm.
I'm gonna mute myself for a second. I'll
All right. um, Bill must be going to get rid of some of his Shiner Bock. Hey, Byron Waters is in the house. Let me look through. I don't think I've missed anything in the YouTubes. Um, the the one thing that makes Blue Ribbon different from a lot of other platforms, a lot of other businesses, is we have a mission here. It's not just about the money. It's not just about um, being in business. It's about giving people an opportunity to see what it really takes to run a successful trucking business. It's hard. And if you encounter a scenario or a situation where someone in this industry tries to lead you to believe that operating a truck is easy, I want you to beware of what you are being told, because that is not the case. Being an owner operator is not easier than being a company driver. It's 100 times more difficult. It requires so much more of your life and your time. And anyone that is not telling you that or tells you something different is telling you something that is false. I I I have to, it's my job a lot of times to have to tell people things that are factually true. Um and I try to do it in a way that's constructive. But when you screw something up, you have to take responsibility for that which you have screwed up. I was talking to a guy today who, through no fault of his own, dealing with a grocery warehouse. We know how that usually goes. He's issued a freight bill with an appointment time. He gets hung in traffic. He's not going to make that appointment time. Come to find out, the appointment time was set for before he even picked up the load. So that's on somebody way down the line. That's on somebody at the shipper or the transportation management company or the broker. It's on everybody pretty much except the driver and the Landstar agent. Those are the only two that are pretty much not to blame at this point because somebody further up the line made that mistake. Well, now he's trying to get a delivery appointment. Crickets. All crickets. Larry Cothran's in the house. Hey, big boy. And I had to tell him, hey, buddy, you wanted to be in business. Now, his attitude is fine. His attitude's good, but I had to make sure I told him, I know you have planned to be off all next week, and you're 90 miles from the house. But when they set that delivery appointment, you got to go deliver that load because that load is your responsibility. Yes, it sucks. Yes, it was probably cheap. I haven't looked at the Raycon. I don't know how much it paid. Yes, it's going to a grocery warehouse that we all love. But all of your plans are going to get put on the shelf until you get this load delivered. Does that suck? Yes, it does. It's hard. It is. It's a very hard pill to swallow. Were you with us, Phil, when we had the potato incident with Richie?
I can't remember if I was with you or if I think you guys just told me about. I think that might have been
I
right
think that
before I
might have
got
been
here.
right. Yeah, it was. It was right when because you came in like December of 20. Well, this would have been Christmas
November.
of 21. This would have been Christmas of 21 because the other driver
Okay.
involved in us.
Well, yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I would have been here, but I was at that point. I think I was probably just a truck owner. I don't think I was
Yeah.
involved. I don't think we had started platform at that point.
Yeah. So anyway, we had this load of potatoes going to Campbell's Soup. I want to say Maxton, North Carolina. That rings a bell. We had a driver in the program at that time that lived not far from there. And he decided that he was more important than the load and business and all that stuff. And so Richie, no, it was the other way around.
No,
Richie
yeah,
was on the load. Richie was on the load. And we had to get a guy that lived close by and was not happy about it at all. Ended up going down there. But Richie sat there, I want to say 3 days. Something like that.
Yeah.
If Richie's not drunk yet, he was in the comment section.
Yeah, he
can
was on
remind me.
here.
But he sat on that load at Christmas time for 3 days, and he lives in Florida. And so we had a guy that lived, I don't know, 50 miles away, and it was an ordeal to get this guy to participate in this deal. And the agent was a jackass. The agent was not doing anything to help us. But y'all, bottom line, that load was on our trailer. And as much as it sucked to sit and deal with potatoes at Christmas time with a customer that didn't care and an agent that didn't care and a broker that didn't care, we had to because we weren't getting rid of it otherwise.
Richie said that's correct. So
Yeah. I knew
right.
It's been 3 years.
It's
So
fine.
it's fine. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Go
I mean,
ahead.
that's the thing about it, though. If you're going to be in business, you got to make a decision. Sometimes it's, obviously not the one that you want to make. You got to be away from your family during holidays sometimes and do some things that you don't necessarily want to do. There's birthdays that you're going to miss. And, there's a lot of things that you're going to miss, ball games, all kind of events from your children or whatever. But, that's part of the sacrifice of owning your own business is putting up with stuff like that versus, if you're the employee, you're the one that, takes your ham or turkey or whatever and goes home, 2 or 3 days before. And you're there to 2 or 3 days after, but you don't reap the rewards of owning your own business all throughout the year. So, I spent Thanksgiving at a truck stop out in California, you know? I took the load that I took out there knowing that I was not gonna make it home for Thanksgiving, and I was totally okay with that, you know? I've rarely
Yeah.
ever spent
Sending us pictures of In and Out, you bastard.
Yeah, I don't, I really don't see what the, attraction to In and Out is. It's good, but it's not as good as, um I would rather have Culver's. Culver's is just better. But, I mean, I went out there knowing that, you know, I wasn't gonna make it home, and like I said, I mean, hey, I was totally fine with it, so, I mean but, I mean, you get stuck out a lot of times like that, you know, not meaning to, but, I mean, it's a chance that you're gonna take, you know? If you're gonna be in business, you're gonna get screwed over sometimes, but, you know, is the risk worth the reward at that point? You gotta ask yourself that, you know? So,
Mhm. I said in early parts uh, uh, of the pandemic, um, I went out to in Illinois somewhere, and I sat in a dock for like 9 hours, eating crackers, you know, because there's nothing around. And I finally walked into the shipping office. I said, "Dude, listen, just tell me the truth. Am I getting loaded?" And behind his mask, he said, "It's not happening." I said, "Well, I'm out." I called the agent and I said, "Listen, I've got a dedicated customer, you know, tomorrow. I've got to go." And she was like, "Yeah, that's fine. Go. It's you know, we built them for a truck ordered, not used, and about it took them a year to tell us to pound sand. But then I deadheaded like 400 miles to Medic's load. Um, was that fun? No. Did I get paid? No, zero. Because when I was a company driver for Blue Ribbon, I got paid on percentage. So 25% of zero is still zero. Um,
yep.
and we have had to have some drivers over time that have made poor decisions. We've had to explain to them, "Hey, buddy, you're getting ready to eat shit."
Yep.
Um, you know, and you might as well learn it now while the risk for you is very low. Because if you eat that same steaming pile as an owner operator, that can be the thing that puts you out of business. Here it's just you have to, you know, suffer the consequences of your dumb decisions.
Yeah.
Um, you know, but it's and the other thing I guess that especially when the trolls start barking about Landstar, y'all, please understand. There's opportunities that exist under this banner that y'all can't even begin. Like your brain is not capable of comprehending the money that can be made. But most of you knuckle draggers can't make it out of pulling a van, you know, because you'll never get to where Phil is, And let me promise you, Phil's in a place where a bunch of y'all couldn't even dream of being. Um, and you know how he got
Well
there? Tell 'em.
well, I can promise you one thing. I got here, you know, it wasn't from sitting on my ass and, you know, not sending emails and not making the phone calls and all that stuff that a lot of you guys don't want to make, you know, and having this mentality of you know, I picked up this guy's load and no, it's none of his business where I'm at right now. I'll be there when I get there. Um, that don't exactly work too well to get to where I'm at. So I can assure you of one thing. You know, I've climbed the ladder. It hadn't been easy, but you know, it's not going to happen overnight for you if you come here, you know, Landstar and expect to get to those loads that don't hit the load board. You're not going to, you know, the best freight here at Landstar will never be on a load board. I mean, that's just
No.
That's just it, period. You're not gonna find it. Most of the stuff on the load board, is stuff that, either there's so much of one particular load that they can't cover it all with the people they know, or, it's not that great of a load to begin with. So you've got to build those relationships. And in order to build those relationships, you've got to maintain a business mentality, because if you don't, you're never going to make it here.
Nope.
I've seen people literally, set their career on fire here at Landstar, and just burn the whole damn thing down because of a bad attitude. Uh,
Mhm.
Not only costing them thousands of dollars, but the other people that are involved in them also. So that's the kind of stuff that can happen to you here. But if you the thing about it is, hauling the freight from point A to point B is only 50% of this. The rest of it, the business side of it, you better have some kind of personality when you're talking to these agents, whether it be via email or a phone or text or whatever. Like, I mean, there's several agents that I talk to, on a regular basis, and some of them I don't really haul that much stuff for anymore. But um, I maintain relationships with a lot of these people, just
Mhm.
because. I mean, you never know when you're going to need them. I mean, I had a guy call me up today, an agent, and I've talked to him a few times before, but I don't really have a relationship with him. But this guy called me up, wanting to know if I wanted to haul a 125-foot long load out
Mm.
of Jacksonville, Florida, going up to I think it was Norfolk, Virginia, and my trailer only stretches out to 90 feet, so that is a considerable amount of overhang. So I'm like, buddy, I can't help you on this, but I can
Mm.
give you a couple of numbers to some people that might be able to help you. So, he was thankful for it. Our conversation didn't last that long, but next time that he gets a load that I can actually haul, who knows? I mean, he may call me in 3 or 4 months, and it may turn into $1 million project. We don't know, but it is what it is,
Mhm.
or I may never hear from him again, but I wasn't going to leave that on the table. So you've got to be able to have that business mentality here, because if you've got a company driver mentality and you're a Landstar BCO, yeah, you're
Mm.
probably not going to make it very, very long.
Yeah.
So
Well, and those of us that um, have been at Landstar for a decade or more, um, we resent. I'm tell you straight up. We resent a bunch of y'all coming in here that don't have any business being in business, and here we're trying to be business people, and some of y'all clowns come in here, acting a fool, acting like entitled princesses. Um, yeah, we don't really care for that. And we don't have a super healthy response to your whining, narcissistic, rage bait behavior. And I certainly don't feel sorry for you, because I watch so many times that y'all dig a hole and then jump right in it, and then they're like, I can't believe it. What? Believe it.
yeah,
You know, there's a whole bunch of people here that we're doing adult stuff, right? And I don't really need a bunch of toddlers coming in, tearing the house down, because you don't understand what you're doing. You're in business. That's what you're here for. And then, you got like teenage girl drama. No offense to teenage girls, because I got a teenage girl in this house, and she wouldn't dream of acting like that. I got a 10-year-old boy too. He wouldn't do it. It's it, we're here to do business. Um, and if you can't handle that, how about don't get in business?
yeah.
How about that? Um, I-
Lee Byer, if I had a bunk and dolly, or if I had the bunk plate, that might be a good idea. But I don't have the bunk plate. I've only got the trailer. So
what was that picture you had the other day? It looked like you had a 7-axle trailer.
Oh, that trailer belonged to another BCO. That belonged to Joe Donovan. That
Oh,
was that picture was taken 2 or 3 years ago up in, Minnesota. I broke down, that's when I put a clutch in that truck. Actually, Lee Byer, I was on my way to, go get a load for a really good agent here that was going down to Florida, and, this asshole gets down there and tells me it's like 75 degrees down there, where the load was going, and I'm still stuck up in Mankato, Minnesota, where it's like, -10 or some ungodly number, and, so, yeah, anyway, Lee came and got my trailer and took that load down there, and he had that 7 axle, which belonged to another BCO, so, that was pretty much just a photo opportunity right there. I
oh.
think I wound up, putting a, legal load on it, and him and I met back up down in Georgia or somewhere, but, yeah, that trailer exists for one reason, and that's to haul some really, really heavy shit,
Mhm.
and, the loads that go on that trailer, you know, they pay ungodly amounts of money. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So,
What's the biggest freight bill you've ever seen?
biggest freight bill that I've ever seen was, well, I think there was 3 different freight bills involved in it because the Landstar freight bill only goes up to $99,999.
Mm,
So the biggest one that I've ever seen, I think that particular guy had 3 of those to
good
cover that
God.
load. So, if you remember the live event we did, I think I think I talked about that during that, but yeah, there
Yeah.
was, I mean, and it goes back to what you said a while ago. There's a lot of people that never have the opportunity to see something like that here at Landstar. Don't even know it exists. You start driving the truck when you first start driving, and people start talking about all these high dollar loads, and
Mhm.
you're the guy running for 40 or 50 cents a mile as a company driving. You're like, man, that's all bullshit. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, for a long time, I thought it was bullshit. Well, guess what? Not.
I took a
So,
load of transformers from Milwaukee up to Edmonton, Alberta, and basically to this big, just huge, looked like football fields of, um, of room, and basically they were building these buildings that were gonna go up to the oil sands, and I thought, "Well, this is interesting." But I remember, like, subconsciously thinking, "Okay, but you're building this building, but how are you gonna get anywhere? Because 'Cause they're huge."
right.
Well, I took a load of pipe up to the oil sands at Fort McMurray. This had been early 2013. So I take my load of pipe up there, and the last 60 kilometers or something crazy is on a dirt road. Um, what an experience, right? Well, so now I'm coming back. I'm coming south down that road that connects the oil sands down to Edmonton. It's 300 miles north of Edmonton. And I see something coming at me, and I realize it's a pilot car, and he's in my lane. I thought, well, this is unfortunate. And he's waving with a flag, because big wide shoulders. And so I see everybody's pulling over. And then comes before me. I realize why I'm being put on the shoulder. Because here comes that building. And thank God that thing had to have been 25-foot wide, and here he come, the whole road. And this giant the thing looked like it was 60 feet tall. It was, probably 20 or whatever. But dude looked like dude was just dragging a house. And
Yeah.
I still was thinking, couldn't y'all just build that up there? But anyway, uh, and, and I remember thinking, "Whew, wonder what the freight bill on that sucker looks like."
Well,
Um,
I have been corrected, uh, by freight bills. That's per our buddy Cliff. So, there you go.
okay, so we're talking half a million
Instead of
dollars.
3. Yeah. $500,000 for one load. So
I mean, what was it? Like machinery or like
that was a shut the fuck up load is what that was.
oh,
That
okay.
was yeah, that was it had a tarp on it. Probably didn't really need a tarp, but it had a tarp on it, and this thing was it was I think 20 Cliff probably know. I probably remember. I think it was
Come on,
somewhere
Cliff.
around
The
22
statute
feet
of
wide.
limitation the statute of limitations has had to run out. Uh, Cliff, create a different YouTube account and log in under an anonymous
There you
name
go.
and just fill it. I need to know what the hell takes a $500,000 freight bill.
Well, like I said, that was I know it was somewhere between 20 and 25 feet. I can't remember the exact number and width that this thing was, but it was probably one of those loads that it probably I think it at least had to take a day, if not 2 days, just to tarp the damn thing. So
Mm.
it was crazy.
And I'm assuming that this takes weeks or
This is
months.
something that
Maybe?
it took months of planning to do, and he had another truck following him. This was the reason the other truck was there was because if he broke down, so to
Mm,
get that load off of the highway like ASAP. So yeah,
mm. Wow.
and I
Yeah.
think I think that other truck got paid on a totally different freight bill to do it with too. So
Wow.
and never touched the load. So yeah,
500
I mean
grand.
there's
I mean, even doing what we do, it takes 2 years for our truck to earn $500,000. You know,
yeah.
just we're moving general freight, nothing fancy, nothing special. Um, I watched some, of course, you know how you get hung in a vortex. They
Yeah.
moved, what was it? Say they moved something from, uh, like the East Coast, and it was something that had some sentimental value or something. Anyway, brought in all these riggers and they moved it onto a ship and they took it down and up the Mississippi, or maybe they moved it down the Mississippi to the East Coast or something. But it was fascinating to watch. Just all the you just have to think about all the moving parts that are involved in moving these really big loads. Um, because we see these super loads that'll be, 1,000,000 pounds or whatever with pullers and pushers and all that kind of stuff. It's really fascinating.
Oh yeah. 24, 20. It was 24 wide. So yeah,
Hmm.
24-foot wide. So and Lee's on here. He said the straps had to be custom ordered for it because they needed to be so long. Which I mean, 24-foot wide. And you're talking what? Probably I don't know how. Just guessing. Probably I don't know 10 foot tall or something like that. Maybe maybe longer than that or maybe taller than that. But yeah, that's a pretty long ass strap considering most straps are 30 feet long.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I've got some 40-foot straps and I've got a couple of 50-foot straps, but I would imagine that yeah, I mean that's not something you can just go in to the MIT or wherever and you
Yeah.
can't just go up there and buy a 50-foot strap. It don't happen. That's something you have to order.
Well, and
So
we've had to have a lot of conversations with drivers in the program about you have to you have to take that extra level of care, of of safety, of paying attention to what you're doing. Um, uh, Super collider, is that the one you're talking about that I was talking about that was moving on the river? Maybe I think that's what he's talking about. Um, but imagine if I can't get a driver to put a strap on a tote inside a dry van.
And this
And
happens.
it ain't just one guy. I mean, the number
No,
of times that I've gone to haul totes and I get out my box of straps and I'm standing there waiting as they are loading them. What are you doing? I'm gonna put straps on. Nobody else ever does. Well, ain't nobody else.
that's
But
it.
I'm gonna put a strap on these totes. Now, is it because I think those straps are gonna hold that tote inside that
No,
trailer? No.
no.
No, it's because I don't want the road pirate to open my doors and issue me citations and, you know, but
Well,
that's
here's the
that's
thing. You you flip a dry van, and there ain't no amount of securement going to hold that load in place. Those walls are not made strong enough to hold that
mm-mm,
stuff. But if you got, you know, this crap done according to DOT regulations, then you
mhm,
don't get the ticket, right? But
mhm,
I mean, we had a, you know, we I've had to go back correct, make several people, you know, go back and put more straps on, you know, those singled out totes where they just put them right in the middle of the trailer, you know,
mhm,
because a lot of people will overlook that, you know. And like you said, there's a lot of people, a lot of these shippers that have no clue. Like
mm-mm.
it's not just the drivers. The drivers, are, you know, in this industry are not trained. They're trained to
Oh,
drive a truck. You know, as long as they've got a pulse and they can drive from point A to point B, that's all they care. You know, and they
mhm,
have no idea what it actually takes to be legal according to the DOT standards. They don't know how to do a pre-trip. They don't know how to secure loads. They don't know half the stuff that they're supposed to know, but yet they're out here hauling freight up and down the highways next to your wife and your kids and your grandma and your grandpa. And if something goes to shit, they ain't got a clue how to fix it. That's the
mm-mm,
industry that we're in. That's how these folks are trained. But
mhm,
you know, the reality of it is you know, eventually the only way they're going to ever get trained is if they get a ticket and they actually do research because they're not going to take it on themselves to do the research. That
mm-mm,
would be that's out of their pay grade, right?
mhm,
So as long as you can close the doors and put a seal on it, you don't have to put a lock on it now. You don't worry about the other guy that's owns this shit, you know. And I mean the lock's not gonna do anything. It's just gonna keep the honest people out of it anyway. They got a set of bolt cutters. That lock's coming off. But do your
yeah,
due diligence. Put the lock on it, put the seal on it, you know. So at least you done everything you were supposed to do. And hey, take a picture of it. That picture on your phone, every picture you take on that phone's got a timestamp on it. Take a
mhm,
picture of that seal number. You take a picture of the lock on the back of that dry van, and it covers your ass. Because when
yep,
Joe Blow that's on meth wants to break in your trailer while you're asleep and steal all the TVs or laptops that's in there, and that broker calls you up and be like, "Hey, bud, what's going on with this?" You know, we're gonna hit up your insurance and file a freight claim on this. And you go, hey, look at this. Check this out. I've got a seal on this trailer. I've got a lock on this trailer. I've got the pictures of it. They broke the seal. They broke the lock. I done everything I could do to prevent this.
yep,
But most of you guys out there that's owner operators, you're lucky if you even put a seal on it. But what happens then, you know?
mhm,
So my question is, Lee says you asking a lot from a truck driver. Well, are you a truck driver or are you a business person, you know?
mhm.
So,
Well, and somebody made the point, it was I might have been Dolan. If you go somewhere, and I've done it, it could have been in a restaurant or somewhere, and I meet somebody that's excellent, you can tell they're excellent because they want to be. That person's not gonna last long there. They're gonna get gobbled up by somebody else.
so
And I made some, whether it conscious or unconscious decision that, I guess it was 2010. What would I have been to 34? I just kind of decided that I wasn't going to be the problem anymore. Now sometimes I couldn't help it. Um, because sometimes you got to be the problem. But I remember that the contrast from one time in 2002 being fired from a job where the guy called and said, "Hey, need you to come up here for a meeting." Okay. I said, "Should I bring a truck with me?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Should I clean it out first?" He said, "Yeah, it's probably pretty good idea." Um, to later in like 2010 or 11, a lady wept when I left because she knew that I was somebody that she could count on, but I had to go on to the next thing, and it
Right.
was really like, wow, that's somebody that didn't want to get rid of me. That's somebody that didn't want me to leave. Right. And I made that choice. Nobody made that for me. I eventually made a choice to be better. And when
Right.
I made that choice, shockingly enough, things got better for me. Terry Blinman, I worked for LTL and learned a lot about securement load management. I'll tell you what, I don't think you worked for Yellow. Um, I worked in an electrical supply warehouse. Let's see, my daughter was born in '06, so 2006. And I was always shocked at it seemed to be the lengths that Yellow and ABF would go to destroy freight uh, between the origin and the destination. We ordered a lot of light bulbs, naturally, electrical supply warehouse. And Phil, hand to God, I roll the door up. And on the electric poles, they've got these, they're like thick steel galvanized curly Q looking things.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are. Okay. But we would get pallets of those because we would supply the linemen that would go out and work on the poles. And these pallets were heavy.
I think those are fuses, aren't they?
No, no, these were some sort of securement device that
Okay.
connected to the. I knew they were galvanized and I knew they were heavy as hell. Dude, the level of talent that it takes to take a heavy pallet of those whirligigs, turn it upside down, and set it on a pallet of Philips light bulbs, fluorescent tube light bulbs. I mean, I was at least impressed because, like, I rolled the door up and I'm like, um, I don't, that doesn't go that way.
Probably had a sticker on it that said "Do not stack." Right. Fragile.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. What was it? USF Holland before they got bought up by YRC back in the day. Man, their stuff always came in clean as a whistle. The guy
Yeah.
comes in, he's got his stiff iron shirt on, and he's not in a big hurry. Yella and ABF come in, man, the doors are flapping off and they're banging into the dock and the freight's upside down and on fire and busted into a million pieces. And, they run a forklift through uh, $1,000 uh, electrical disconnect box. That the boss was
Yep.
really happy about that and special ordered, waiting on it for 90 days. Oh, so yeah, that was my LTL experience. Um,
Yeah. That's Landstar actually does quite a bit of stuff for LTLs, FedEx, and I think Central Transport, which that um, and then I think they might have used to done some ABF, but I don't know if they're still doing that one or not.
used to do New England Motor Freight before they went out. My cousin
I,
did them for
I
2 years.
yeah.
Um,
What was that
uh,
one out of Jersey? It was New Century. Was they an LTL carrier? You remember them? New Century
yeah,
Transport. Was that in New
that's
Jersey?
where um, that's where Steve Wheeler came from.
Oh, really?
Steve Wheeler
Okay.
started his trucking career, I think, at New Century. I don't know if he was there when they went out. I think he was. Um, I now the big one back in the day was Jevic. You remember Jevic?
Yeah, I do. Yep, I remember
They
them
went out.
overnight.
They went out in 2008, just gone, and just in the
Yep.
blink of an eye. Like, but they were huge in, I don't know, I guess you'd call it truckload LTL stuff. And I was with somebody, maybe US Express or something like that, that did, I guess, just excess capacity. And my God, they'd load you up with 30 stops. It was crazy, big money. Um,
I seen a couple loads on Landstar's board today out of, I think they were out of Washington or Oregon that was going down to California that had like 30, 35 stops on them. I thought, man, of
mhm.
course they were van loads, but boy, it's got 35 stops around Southern California. It's got to take a while for
Yeah,
sure.
I did a deal at ATS when I first got my when I first bought my truck. Tried to get on Landstar, couldn't make it through the gauntlet. So I took my truck back to ATS, leased it on in the van division, and they sold they did a deal with Walmart where Walmart had some customer that was building cardboard, like when you're walking down the aisle at Walmart and there's like a thing of deodorant standing there or whatever.
Yeah,
And so whatever this little company was in like South Boston, Virginia or something crazy. Well, they would build these that was 1 pallet per store. Well, they
right.
tried sending LTL. Going back to our previous conversation, you can imagine what happened to these things. They couldn't make it to the store without getting destroyed. So ATS was like, "Well, we'll do it. We'll just load all the stops up on one truck, and we'll just go do
Yeah,
it. Give 20, 30, 40 stops, whatever it was." And so they asked me if I was interested in doing it. I'm like, "Sure, I'll do it." And it was cool because it was 24/7. Like I could go to any Walmart 24 hours a day, and Walmart had said, "Take him when he gets there." Right? So, dude, man, I was knocking off 8, 10, 12 stops a day. I'm just bang, 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 bang. And like my 3rd week back, my net settlement after fuel and, my interest and stuff, my net settlement was $8,000. And I'm like,
yeah,
"Hey, all right, I can do something with this." Man, I ran the dog out of them things. It was awesome. I made a ton of money in about 2 months doing those things. And then I think somebody in a cubicle somewhere with a calculator went, "Okay, we're paying these guys way too much money." And that was the end of that.
yep.
But boy, I jumped on
Probably
that
put it.
horse and ride.
Yeah. Did HTS have company trucks that did vans?
They had some, yeah. They had some company there was only out of all as the vastness of ATS at that time, there was only like 300 vans. It was pretty small,
Yeah.
obviously compared to, that reminded me too, we were talking a while ago. I remember this story because there was this I met one of their most senior guys that was doing wind energy up there in St. Cloud one day. He's been there forever, he's practically Anderson family. And we were talking about platform and, you know, I was learning about it, never really been around it all that much. And I asked him, I said, "Well, what's that wind energy blade stuff like? What's that like?" And he was like, "Intense." The best word I can
Yeah.
use to describe it. It's intense. And we got onto this conversation like you were talking about how you have to pay attention to the details. And one of their big dog guys, and they said this guy was so good that he could just point to a location on the trailer and tell them you set it right there, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it would be perfect every time. He
Yep.
just was that good. Well, he hauled some sort of piece of equipment that had a hydraulic cylinder in the middle of it. And he didn't put a strap across that top of that cylinder.
Ooh.
And I'm sure you know what happens to hydraulic cylinders when you're going up and down the road.
Yep.
And it crept up on him and he had a bridge strike. Gone
Yep.
instantly. I mean, this is the guy that everybody had on speed dial, that if they had a question about platform, they called this guy because he could do it better than anybody else. And he had one bridge strike going,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's all it takes, you know. I mean, you've got to be vigilant. You've got to pay attention to everything at all times. You know, you can't become complacent in any of this. You know, I mean, if you do, I mean, you're putting yourself at risk for something, you know, like that happened to him.
Mhm.
So you absolutely have to 100% pay attention at all times. So no matter what it is.
Well,
But
y'all, it's been fun. We've been away for a couple of weeks. We've got some exciting stuff coming. I can't tell you all about it right now, but I can just tell you that there's some cool things getting ready to happen for Blue Ribbon, and we're excited for it. Um, we have one truck that just got a brand new engine and needs a driver. I've got a couple of people in the pipe, but we are looking at adding equipment in 2025. So if you are interested in coming and getting an opportunity, and that's what it is, it's an opportunity for you to come and see how it's done correctly. We give you all of the experience that we have, um, to um, to give you every opportunity to succeed and thrive as an owner operator at Landstar. You can come here, drive one of our trucks, watch how it's done, do it every day, get your hands on it, feel it, hear it, taste it, touch it. It's not easy, right? It's not a cakewalk.
that's for
Um,
sure.
just understand that you're not coming here to get a job. You're coming here to get an experience. So if you come here thinking this is a job, you're gonna hate me, and I'm gonna sleep like a baby knowing it. I'm not here to be your buddy and your friend and make you feel good all the time. I'm here to show you how to to make it long enough so that you can become somebody like Phil. So blueribbonlogistics.com. There's 226 other episodes that you can go watch. You ain't got nothing else to do, just turn on the podcast and let it breathe.
Yeah,
There's
it's the
nothing,
holidays.
and
You don't want
there's
to be around your
no,
family.
you don't want to be anyway.
Just just get a bottle of whiskey and search YouTube. It's fine.
Everything's
They
fine.
won't miss you.
But there's no data point in the operation of this company that you don't get to see. Every penny. And it's published every week. We publish fuel mileage numbers. We publish all the profits and losses. We publish them too, right? Because they come.
Yep.
So, but that's the opportunity for you to come and do this. We have an amazing management team, to give you everything that you need to succeed. I may say this one final thing, because this ultimately is my plea. Let me tell you who I'm looking for. I'm looking for Chris Polk in 2010. That's who I'm looking for. Now, who was that in 2010? 2010 was a guy that realized that there was indeed an opportunity to make money as an owner operator, but he didn't have a clue how to get there. So he looked around. All right, well, I see how they're doing it, and I see how they're doing it, and whew, I don't want to do it that way, but and so I went down a road that this podcast tells the story of. I've been doing this since 2015. This podcast tells that whole story. So go back, don't miss those early episodes, 1 through 49, right? Because there's a bunch of y'all that will bypass that opportunity, but you need to go listen to episode 1 through 49 and understand what can happen to you, because it happened to me. Those are the guys that I'm after, really. You think you don't need to come through this program? You think you got a great work ethic, you got a good attitude, you're pretty good with a calculator. You've done all the math, you've done all the research, you've done everything you can to prepare yourself for getting in a truck. You're just going to go do it because you believe in yourself. I can't there's not enough words for me to explain how desperately you need to come and do this program. Yes, it's an 18-month pause on your way, but I'll promise you that if you'll come through and you'll interact with Phil every day, and you'll interact with me and the rest of the team, and you'll absorb what it is we have to offer you, um it will be the difference between your survival and your failure in business, because the statistics are undeniable. Those of you that have that work ethic and that attitude, and you're ready to go, and you're on fire, and you're fired up, and you're going to go hit it hard, you still have a 95% chance of failure.
Yep.
This is what you need. Right. So that's really who I'm looking for, because who we generally end up with are people that are kind of self-aware enough to go, okay, I should go do this thing because I'm probably not going to make it on my own, which is fine. That's totally fine. But man, I'm telling you, if I could get some of those guys that were like me back in 2010, 11, and 12 and get them in here, it would be a boon for us as well, because, the rising tide, whatever, raises all ships. But I'm telling you, if you're one of those people that's like me, that's like, man, I don't need to do that. I can figure this out. Please trust me. Come do this program. It can be life changing. Absolutely life changing. If Jake 1KW2000 is saying, what about owner operators? We do have some mentoring. I think we want to try to do it different in 2025. It's a whole different animal to deal with owner operators. And we want to provide something for owner operators. And we've got some plans, not exactly sure what it's going to look like. But everything that we does, it works in all businesses. It's just principle. It's just maximize revenue, minimize expenses. If it ain't wrote down, it didn't happen. This is a company driver position paid on a W-2. We do not do lease purchases because lease purchases are theft. I abhor. Look, we went through some nevers the other day, because never say never. Listen, never spill max mileage in your truck. Okay,
That's a fact.
never lease a truck, ever. Never take legal advice from Richie Matthews. Okay. And there was one more. I can't remember what the other one was, but we came down to like 4 nevers. Right.
Yep.
But yeah, I think 2025 is going to be great for Blue Ribbon. I think it's going to be great for the industry. But what we do here is give you an opportunity to see what it looks like without having the risk of a truck payment or lease payment. That's what we do. That's why we do it. We are here for the mission. The mission's got to make money, or it can't continue to be a mission, right? So we have to make a profit. We're a business. But I don't want to happen to you what happened to me. And episodes 1 through 49 tells that story. The company drivers paid on percentage. It's all on our website, blueribbonlogistics.com. You can go read all about it, and there's 226 other episodes, right? So I'm going to shut her down. I'm not going to promise you that we'll see you next week, because next week is the 20th. It's the week before Christmas. We might do something. But like I said, we've got big plans for 2025. Oh, never trust a Sicilian when death is on the line. That was it, Travis. He reminded me. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
All right. See ya.